This is ANN News Brief.
I'm Lucy Adeyemi. Gunmen in the Eastern Democratic Republic of the Congo have ambushed and killed an aid worker. Aid group World Vision says 2 workers were kidnapped and another of its employees was seriously wounded during the attack on a convoy in Lubero in North Kivu province on Wednesday. The group said on Twitter, World Vision was distressed to receive reports of a staff member's death in an attack by unidentified armed actors on a humanitarian convoy. The organization has also denounced the incident, which it said was an attack on the most vulnerable children and communities the staff had been serving. A local official said the ambush was carried out by the militia known as the Mai Mai, which has been active in eastern DR Congo since the early 1990s. The United Nations Commission of Inquiry into alleged human rights violations in Burundi says there has been no progress in improving human rights in the nation despite a new government headed by a new leader in Burundi. President Evariste Ndayishimiye replaced Pierre Nkurunziza in June after the incumbent died. UN investigators have just completed their latest and 4th report into Burundi covering May 2019 to May 2020. They suggested that serious violations had continued unabated. UN investigators said hopes for change in the new government have not been realized so far. Discussing their findings, a representative, Francis Hampson, said though there was an expectation the new president would usher in a new era, there have continued to be killings, arbitrary detention and disappearances, and that it's a matter of very grave concern. We'll be right back.
Whether in your house, at your office, on your phone or online, we are there. We have the facts behind the headlines. We cut to the chase with the news you really need. We cover every angle. We are the bigger, better news network. We are African News Network. ANN. Watch ANN News on MITV from a truly African spirit.
Guinea's opposition movement has announced a new round of protests from late September, just weeks ahead of a presidential election. The poll is scheduled to hold in exactly 1 month. The movement says it's planning the demonstration against what it called President Alpha Conde's controversial bid to run for a 3rd term in the October 18 vote. 82-year-old Conde pushed through constitutional reforms last year to allow him to run for a 3rd term. The reform was boycotted by the country's opposition. The leader's move caused clashes in the country last October, claiming several dozen lives. From belief that Conde fraud accusations, he sidestepped limit on presidential terms. Opposition movement says a series of peaceful protests will begin in 12 days in the capital, Conakry, and the surrounding area to demand Alpha Conde's departure. The opposition describes him as, quote, a dictator whose sole ambition today is to stay in power for the rest of his life, end quote. The movement called on the people of Guinea to mobilize massively in the greatest civic responsibility. Conde became the country's first democratically elected president 10 years ago. His critics say he has become increasingly authoritarian and resorts to crackdown to quell dissent. The opposition's announcement came hours after Conde declared coronavirus restrictions will be extended for another month. Guinea has officially declared 10,111 coronavirus cases and 63 deaths. The measures include bans on gatherings of more than 100 persons, meaning the protest could be declared illegal. Human rights defenders and the opposition accused the authorities of using the coronavirus pandemic to repress protests and political rallies ahead of the vote. That is ANN News Brief at 10. For details on these and other breaking stories, visit our website, annafrica.news. Conversation continues on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. I'm Lucy Adeyemi.